Lavardo, just a quick question for you. Who is Lavardo Thompson?
I'm a certified financial consultant and compliance officer, about 20 years in the industry.
Awesome. And where obviously you're in Toronto. A little bit about your family, your background.
All right, I'm married to one wife, can only afford one, and three boys. I hail all the way from the Bahamas, 700 islands and keys. Moved here in Canada in 2003, got into the industry in 2004, and love working through the church in the banking sector, private sector, and corporations as well.
Awesome. Awesome. And we just want to thank you. I know that you've done a lot of work for us in sharing this stewardship message, not only with some of the programs that we have done, but also around the churches as well. So we thank you, and we appreciate the work that you do. And today you will be speaking on being a smart saver, especially in the area of money management. So without further ado, we're going to hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Orlando. Thank you, men, for tuning in. And as we share over these next 20 minutes, as far as I will be presenting, I hope that the information that will be shared will be of benefit to you and by extension, your family and friends. Let's talk about why, because anytime someone asks me to do something, I start with why. Why should I be a smart saver in 2020? Well, we are in the middle of a global pandemic. I mentioned earlier that I've been in the industry now 17 years in Canada and basically 20 years altogether. Individuals that thought they were invincible in March came calling or knocking at my door, realizing that there are situations, be it global, be it national or local, that can derail your economic stability and sustainability, even from a general standpoint. But more importantly, being men of faith or those that are tuning in, we like to get the biblical perspective. And for me, Genesis 1, verse 28 talks about, we need to have that spiritual economic mandate because God said, be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. And he didn't say during the good times, he left it open. So to me, as individuals of faith, or if we implement the right strategies, regardless of what's going on, we can still be successful. There's also another biblical reference in terms of seasons. We are now in fall, but as you look outside, for those of you that went outside, the weather is a bit chilly. So even though it's not officially winter, December 21st, the beginning of a winter, we can see the signs and the symptoms. For many of us, we love fall due to the changing of the leaves. However, do we realize, even though the trees might be beautiful because they're losing their chlorophyll, which enables them to manufacture their food, it's also a sign that they are preparing for another season. Many trees will die. Some will adapt. The same thing with us in life. There are always transitional points that we have to implement and we have to be proactive about. If not, we will be in trouble. Same thing with our lives. We were children, we went through adolescence, adulthood. There might be those on the call, be in retirement. However, each phase require a certain mindset. So from a financial standpoint, I think it's extremely important because most individuals that go from JK to grade 12 will spend over 25,000 hours in some form of study. Yet, according to statistics, the average person is financially illiterate after completing high school. And to me, that shouldn't be. If we look at our current curriculum, even in high school, There's an option in high school from grade 12 to choose financial literacy. Statistics bear out that most children are opting out of that class. And most parents are not even aware that this class is available through the TDSB. I'm saying to you men, as the priests of our homes, providers and protectors, I want this program to be a train the trainer. My job is not just to share information. This information that I'll be sharing with you this afternoon is a part of an academy that I will be launching in November called Smart Saver Academy, where we will be going through these three key aspects: money management, which is essentially budgeting and what's coming in, what's going out, wealth management, and a spectrum of investment options, and how do you tailor your investments based on your goals, and estate management. No one is going to live forever. The things that God has blessed us to be managers over, we should put a plan in place to ensure that those that are coming behind us will receive it in the most efficient manner before something happens. In order to learn these skills, like any other skill, if we ask a question, what's the vocation of everyone on this call? You might get 5, 6, 10 different answers. Same thing when it comes to learning how to be a smart saver. It will not happen overnight, and there is a process. Over the last 17 years, most clients prefer, Lavardo, you do it for me. Or they tune in only when they need something. I've decided, I went back to school 2 years ago and got a graduate certificate in teaching individuals how to learn these skills based on the level in which they're at, so that iron sharpens iron. As I bring up their level of financial literacy and understanding, as we set goals, it becomes much more easier, so that now they can take that information and pass it to those that they have responsibility for and influence over. So, in saying that, gentlemen, there are 5 essential skills that must be mastered. And this is over a lifetime. You never stop being a smart saver. The first thing, or the first phase, is how to acquire the knowledge of being a smart saver, because knowledge comes before understanding. Once you have the understanding, and most of this information I share in a group format, like what we're doing this afternoon, you need to assess your individual situation. No two individuals will be alike. Be it you're single, being in a relationship with a significant other, without children. There are those that have children. There are those that have extended families. Even if you're a couple, one couple, both might be gainfully employed. You might have a business owner with someone who's employed or even unemployed. So never compare your situation with anyone else's. It has to be assessed individually based on your goals, aspirations, and concerns, and where you are from an age standpoint. Once that is done, then the question is how to manage the goals that you have or the concerns that will be discovered through the assessment process. Some things you can do on your own as an individual. Some things you will need a professional to do in conjunction with you. And then the next phase is how to monitor. Depending on the severity of your situation, some individuals are recommended to follow up on a quarterly basis. Some individuals semi-annually, some individuals annually. So depending on how grave the matter is, or how far you are from being where you should be from an economic standpoint, a proper financial consultant will recommend following up so that you can close that gap as soon as possible. Money management. So I'm going to pull up a slide in a minute or two with a typical budget. But once I pull up that budget, these are the things I want you as individuals tuning in to be able to recognize and to be able to understand. I'm not going to go through line by line on what a budget is. Most of us know what a budget is, but how many of us understand how to get the most out of a budget? So the first question, not a question, but a first thought I'm going to put out there, or something I want you to understand, there's a big difference, gentlemen, between your salary and your income. For example, your salary might be $75,000. Some individuals will have their expenses pegged to that $75,000. That should not be, because by living in Canada, the taxes that you have to pay, and the higher your tax bracket is, we pay provincial taxes and federal taxes, you're going to see a substantial hit when it comes to your income, your net income. So your salary is the gross. Your income or your net income is the difference from taxes. Depending on the company that you work, there are various deductions that may come from that as well. So you also want to ensure that you're pairing everything based on your net income. But not only that, if you're a person of faith, you should not be accounting for your tithe. And depending on the situation, you're offering. So at the end of the day, most individuals are living as if they are earning more than they actually are. And that's the first problem. Most of us are overspending from the jump. Most people making $75,000 is probably only bringing home about $50,000 after taxes if they're lucky. Okay, so you cannot live as if you are earning $75,000. You have to really scale it back. In order to do that, you also want to understand how much are you losing in taxes and how can you recoup some of the money that you're losing in taxes. If you notice on your last notice of assessment, gentlemen, if you file your taxes for last year or even this year, 18% of your income can be used to lower your taxable income minus any pension contribution that is made on your behalf through work. If you look at your unused RSP room, and some individuals go either way when it comes to RSP, but I always say to my clients, it's better to save than not to. Most people just don't use the RSPs properly. They take it out when they're earning a lot of money, so it adds back to their taxable income, increasing it, putting them in a higher tax bracket, rather than taking the funds out when they are unemployed, on maybe maternity or paternity leave, or even in retirement, or going back to school to continue their education, or first-time home buyer. That's the best time to take money out of your RSP. So it's all about strategy. The next thing is, you always want to save at least 10% of your net income. And that's exclusive of whether you have children, whether you're saving for a house, whatever you're doing. Because at the end of the day, we have to replace our pre-retirement income at some point in time. If we do not, we will have to work until we die. Only about 30% of Canadians have what I call a real pension plan, a defined benefit plan. There are different formulas, but typically they take your 5 best earning years according to a percentage due to years of service, typically 30 plus or at age 65. And when you retire or you reach that years of service, they will pay you that income for life. Once again, that's only about 30% of Canadians. That means the other 70% of Canadians are employed with a group savings plan or defined contribution plan where there's a matching component, but you don't receive an income for life. Once you retire or once they fire you, they give you the money and you have to manage it on your own. There are individuals that retired in 2020, for example, that probably had a defined contribution. With the market down 30 or 50%, assuming they had $1 million in there, for example, if they retired this year, and just say, for example, March or April, their defined contribution plan could have went from $1 million down to 600,000, permanently gone. All right. So you have to know exactly what is happening there. So you always need to save minimum 10%. Then the next point is all your expenses should be within a certain ratio. Remember, income is a limited resource. You will get your annual increase between 1 to 3%. If you change jobs or positions, yes, you can be paid more. But essentially, if we average it out, you're going to get about a 3% increase over the length of your career. And you would want to retire by the age of 65, even if you don't, sorry. So what you want to do is ensure that your expenses are always lower than your income. Two of the tricky ones, especially in Ontario, due to the cost of living, are housing. Housing should be ideally, as far as your payments are concerned, 4 times your salary. According to statistics, individuals are 5, 6, and 7 times their annual salary in terms of what they are actually paying. So individuals are highly leveraged. So when a situation like COVID-19 occurs, due to the global pandemic and things slowed down, people panicked right away because they lost their job or their hours were reduced and they couldn't manage. Okay. And the next thing is you need to have uncommitted income. So once again, from your gross salary, there will be taxes, deductions, you have your net income.